As a matter of fact, I did build a pretty good reputation myself,
So
people.
how did you build up a AC business if you had never done that before as a business?
As a business, oh, I found it very easy. I didn't find any. I just I didn't have to say my background. I didn't have to say anything like that. I didn't have to tell them other than they seen me and they seen that I was a man of enthusiasm and very knowledgeable because they would ask me questions about it. And I told them, I says, I worked in high-rise buildings as well as small buildings. I had the exposure of all the various types of air conditioning equipment. And that was in my favor right away. That, listen, because a lot of times, a lot of these other people, young men that were venturing into their own business, they only had experience in package units on the roof, small units. But and people couldn't understand, especially the supply houses. They couldn't understand how Rey Martinez was doing so well and was getting all these business and high-rise buildings and small businesses, and that's because I've had that exposure. So when I seen the owners and I told them what I can do and what I know about them, and I spoke with confidence, and they just welcomed me and say, "Welcome aboard." Yeah.
So where did you operate your business from? Where was your office at?
Well, basically, I started out of my house, and then out of my truck, and then on Cabrillo in Torrance, I opened up a little shop, only because I needed storage to store the filters, because I had a monthly filter service to my customers, so I needed the space, and I didn't have it at home, so I had to rent this little place, and
So
that was-
how long did you work out of your house for? How many years?
what we yeah, maybe a couple of years. I probably work a couple of. Are you on?
Yeah. Pause it.
With patience, you can do a lot of things. I know that I didn't have tables, I didn't have chairs, I didn't have anything like that. But when I was working for Security Pacific Bank, banks are, phew, those people throw away good equipment, good desks, good chairs, good, throw them away. And I starting my own business. I just took everything I could, and it was given to me. And especially when they moved into the new Security Pacific Bank Center on Third and Hope, Flower Street. They, I, I had my own office with all the stuff they threw out. Everything, file cabinets, everything. So I had a pretty good start. I start on cardboard boxes, anything that I can start with. I didn't have to start with new things, and I had patience enough to start from the bottom and get cardboard boxes and put your files there. And I started I did have a van. I did buy my van, and knowing that I was going to eventually use it as a business.
And so you started building more and more, getting more trucks and getting more employees as time went on.
Hmm.
At what point did you feel that to yourself you said, "Wow, I'm actually successful as a air conditioning company"?
Oh,
How
when
did
I
you know
what?
you were big? At what
Oh,
point?
big? Oh, I never thought it was big. Uh,
Okay, was how did you know when you became very successful at your company?
oh, when did I know I was successful? Well, I've always felt that. I always felt that I was successful. I just had that confidence, that how that I increased in volume. I could tell the increasing in volume, and but oh, people. I put an ad in the telephone book, and I named my company ambience control, meaning ambience meaning your surrounding environment, and it's called control, which we control your surrounding environment. And this was attractive enough for a lot of people because they used to look in the phone book or in the dictionary to see what it means. I've had people that told me, "Oh yeah, I looked it up in the dictionary. I know ambience, what ambience means." So it was a catching name, and actually I was going to call it ambient, but I had an attorney, a friend of mine, and at the Security Pacific Bank that told me, call it ambience. Ambience being, I guess, noun or the proper word for it. And so this is how I ended up with that name.
And when your company was at its peak, how many employees did you have?
That was a total, if I remember correctly, 11 office workers and 11 people.
Servicemen,
Servicemen, everybody, including myself.
How many vehicles did you have?
About 12 of them, I guess.
12. So you went from 1 to 12.
Yeah. It was a very successful business, and I didn't realize that years were going by, and now we were making a living. We were making trips to Europe, and you recall that? They went to Europe, and we were doing very well. And I guess
What point did you decide to start winding down the business?
So during the recession.
In 1991, right?
Yeah.
Around the early
Yeah,
90s.
it was 1991. During the recession, things were getting slow. People would, customers would tell me, "Well, we'll do it in-house, change the filters and all that. And if we need service, we'll give you a call." And so that kind of cuts down some of my income because I used to charge for servicing the filtering systems. And of course, they always call me when they needed somebody. It was very good. I've done very well in the air conditioning business. And then I finally decided that it's just, I guess it's just getting a little too much for me. I figured I might as well quit now and sell it. So I found a person that wanted to buy it. And but this man, he was involved in air conditioning, but as an installer, installing equipment only. You don't have to know nothing about the cycle, the systems, or nothing other than to install it. And so he seen an opportunity for him to come and take my business. So he did. And so I sold him the business, and he had, I think he owed me $10,000 balance or something like that. And I noticed that he wasn't doing too good. He's not a good businessman, you know. He used to come in driving a beautiful Cadillac. It was an old Cadillac, but nice, clean. And he would come in with tie and suit and all that. And the kind of business that I'm in, you know, you come in with your work clothes. And so anyhow, I noticed that. And so he says he'll make payments so much a month for the $10,000 that he owed me. And then he started to skip one time. I said, "That's a signal for me." So I told him, I says, "I tell you what, I'll discount the balance by 10% if you pay me off." Oh, big opportunity for him. Somehow in money, he'd come up with the money. But I figured I'd rather lose 10% than to have him come back later on and say, "Well, Ray, I can't make the payments and all that," or he lost the business and I have to come in and take over. And I says, "No, I don't want no part of it. First of all, I don't want to go back in business. Second, I don't want to go back to something that he's destroying." So I made him an offer, he took it. So, but I looked ahead, I can see behaviors and actions and body movements, and these are some of the things that don't matter whether it's a business or whatever you're in, that's a good thing to know. Know what people say, how they say it, and and know what their body, like I said again, body movements and behaviors, and this is how I determine. I just get rid of it, give them 10% off. Oh,
So after that, you became a man of leisure. You
wasn't it?
became an, I think it took you a couple years to really transition out, but after that, you became retired.
It seems to, yeah. After that, what did I do after that?
So you got offered a job where?
I was offered a job with what was the name of the
ISS, right?
ISS? Yeah, ISS.
And what were they wanting you to do? Since you're a successful businessman and experienced in your trade, how did they utilize that skill?
Well, Baba Commando, he knew me, he knew of me, and he knew me, and I had a good reputation. So he acquired some accounts in Mexico, and oh, matter of fact, it was Mexico's biggest bank, Bancomer, and to oversee their maintenance of equipment. So they sent me over there, and I went over and look at their equipment, make my reports, and give him the report and my recommendations, and it worked out pretty good. But
What was your experiences over there? What were your impressions of business in Mexico and the people you were training and consulting?
you know what? It's just like here. There's people that are intelligent, that were sharp. The ones that were wanting to learn were like a sponge, just like they're here. Anybody that wanted to learn to be a building engineer or has the background, and I had to conduct some classes over there. And God, I remember, I don't know how I ended up with so many people. There was something like 20 people, a pretty good sized class. And it's people over there, and matter of fact, just about any country, I would say, it's no different than what we have here. The type of people, the intelligence of the people, and their desire to learn more. It's no difference. Same thing as it is over there as it is here.
And so you did that for how long, do you think?
Gee, I think I'm exaggerating if I say 2 years.
Around 2 years.
Yeah, around 2 years.
So it's you used all the experience you knew from
Oh, yeah.
all your life, and so you became a very valuable consultant there.
I guess so, because that's the way it works. You know, you have the knowledge, and people listen. And I went to their banks. I went to a lot of their banks, and I checked them out, and I made reports of the conditions of the banks, and I give this to my boss here in L.A., and him in turn would talk to the owners of the bank, the people in charge of the maintenance of their equipment.
So now that you're fully retired, for the most part, how do you think life has changed since you're retired now?
Let me, before I retired, I remember that at Commando again, they needed building engineers around here as a relief engineer, and basically that's what I've done quite a bit for maybe a year or so as a building engineer, relief engineer, and then wherever they need me, they fit me in, and then eventually I just faded away from that. And your next question was.
So now that you are fully retired, now how has life changed? Or what are your experiences on a day-to-day basis, and how do you keep yourself active? And what are the secrets to a successful retirement?
Well, first of all, as you know, I was maybe 12, 13 years old when I started work, and I kept on working all these years up to my present years. And basically today, I'm 83 years old. I'll be 84 on April the 19th. But it's how can I say it? It's retiring is not easy after working so many years. Before you know it, you're walking, pacing the floors, and and always trying to seek at my age, trying to seek a little extra jobs here and there, and they see my age, or they know how old I am, or they can check in the computer my age. You know, I don't know, a lot of people know that or not, but I found out that you can do it. And so it became a little more difficult for me to get jobs, and they just seen an old man now, and they say, well, I got the message, you know, lay low, that's it.
So, spend the whole life selling stuff and selling yourself. Do you still find yourself doing that with anything that you can find?
Yeah, basically being a salesman, having the capability of selling, I don't care what it is, it may be tomatoes or onions or whatever the product may be, yeah. In your mind immediately you start thinking, what kind of profit can I make out of this? That's
And I know recently you spoke at my wife's classroom.
oh yeah.
So, how do you think your life experience? Yeah. How do you think you helped out those children by speaking to them?
That's a good point. There's a lot of people that discriminate against Mexicans and any minority. They will discriminate, and I guess the kids that I was going to talk to, some of these kids they carry a stick on their shoulder, you know, that they're being picked on. And it's not. I never felt that way. Because I always try to improve myself. I always be competitive. I've learned how to have people have respect for me, and they would respect me. They would treat me that way. So, but some of these other kids, you know, they loosely use that word being discriminated against. I never feel I've been discriminated. Maybe I have, unknowingly, but I give them a good run for their money. You know, I prepared myself. I went to schools and I studied and learning, and there's no substitute for that. You know, you can't go over there. Well, I'm a Mexican ancestry. I need a break. None of that crap. You know, you go over there and you improve yourself mentally, physically, and attend classes and go to school. And when you run a resume, you can say, well, I attended this class. I had done this. I have my degree in this, and I have a degree in that, or you know, just show abilities and knowledge and schooling that you had, and people will respect you. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I showed my guys at the coffee shop my resume one time because I don't know what the heck, I don't recall why. I said, well, they questioned me, I guess, what I've done or where and all that. I said, I happen to have in my car that my resume. I said, just a minute, let me get my resume. So I went over and got my resume, and I gave it to him to read. And from that point on, those guys didn't question me, didn't say nothing. They knew me, they knew my background. So, and respected me. They treat me with respect. See?
Very
Schooling.
Very impressive. I'm going to stop there for today.
Sure.
Very impressive stories. And,
Yeah.
If you had to offer one last piece of advice for anyone in life, what would it be? If you had to give them one piece of advice.
For anyone and everyone.
Yeah. Just if you had to sum up all your life experience and everything that you learned, what one piece of advice would you give?
Study.
Study.
Go to school. Don't just stop there. Learn here, this level, and learn what's ahead. Go to the next level, and it's so good, a good feeling to know that you went beyond this point, and it's so good. You can go to another point, and it's, to me, it's schooling. I've always liked school, so to me, it's a blessing. It's really good, and it has helped me a lot all my life.
Great advice. Good job.
It is.